Hi everybody, my name is Heidi Schmitz, pronounced she, her, hers. I am a licensed clinical social worker here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I actually, um, I have a dance background. I got my undergraduate degree in theater and dance, but my theater degree is a dance emphasis. Um, Love movement in all its forms. Modern is my favorite. If you had to ask me what my favorite movement genre is, it's going to be modern. Although I have gotten back into capoeira, which is an
Mm,
Afro-Brazilian dance martial art form. It's lovely. But yeah, I came to EEIC back in like late 2022, early 2023. One of the things that kind of brought me here is like I've always wanted to, you know, utilize my dance in some way. And I feel that to me personally, dance is very sacred, spiritual, healing. And I thought, well,
mm.
there's got to be a way to do this, right? And then I remembered years upon years ago reading in a dance magazine about dance movement therapy. And I actually had, interviewed folks from Columbia at the time.
Nice.
And so I was like, okay, years later, how do I do this? So I got my master's in social work. And then I found EEIC after talking to a bunch of different people. I applied and I'm in the program. It's a wonderful thing.
Amazing. Here you are.
Yeah.
And so can you just name what program you're in and the path that you're on and where you are on that too?
Yeah. So I'm in the alternate route dance movement therapy program. So for those that are just kind of like, what does that even mean? Um, so EEIC, the Embodied Education Institute of Chicago, from my understanding, all the faculty, which is wonderful by the way, all of the faculty ended up teaching at one point at Columbia College in Chicago. Unfortunately, the dance movement therapy program closed at that college. And so they ended up saying, well, we want to train the next generation of burgeoning dance movement therapists. How do we do that? So creating EIC. And so this is an alternate route path, which means that, right, it gets this path is kind of overseen by the ADTA, the American Dance Therapy Association.
Hmm.
But what I love about EIC's program is, in their ARDMT program specifically, is that the classes are small. You really get to know one another. You really get to know your faculty.
Hmm.
Um, and there's a lot of learning and growing in a lot of different ways.
Hmm. Well, let's get into it with that. I would love to know what's something that you learned about yourself that was maybe unexpected. Well, I guess that's what learning is, but maybe one thing that you expected, one thing you didn't expect to learn.
Well, one of the things I will say, just on a more kind of academic level, see, when I went through my master's in social work program, like you learn about polyvagal theory, right? But you
Hmm.
don't get the intricacies of the neuroscience of it, the neurobiology of it. So
Uh-huh.
I was really quite pleased. Like, okay, I'm gonna just dish on Chris Eric Larson. He's an amazing instructor. He loves dance. He loves the science behind it.
Yes, he
But
did.
just this, and he's like, that's his jam, is the neurobiology piece, right? And so I never knew this part, and I was like, this is amazing. Everybody should know this, right? So
Oh
it
yeah.
it not only informs how I come to dance movement therapy myself and have a greater understanding of my own self and my own, or my own past trauma or anything like that, but working with folks that have experienced trauma, how we want to, how to understand it, understanding how the body works, how the body mind works,
Hmm.
to really be able to do things safely. In as far as like my own personal development, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're able to be vulnerable in such a different way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not just through just words, but the nonverbal communication that there is, right? We always communicate not just by words, but by movement. And so there's so many different ways of expressing ourselves. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
playing with that more and more.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about vulnerability?
I love it. Like there's a course called White House Approach, and that really dives into authentic movement, how you can really tap into your own inherent internal wisdom, your inner wisdom, and that is such a lovely piece for me, and just continuing to tap into that, to learn that, to have a better relationship with myself and others.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Yes. The vulnerability in the body, through the body, like expressing itself, is definitely a key point. And like, I don't think people understand how unique that type of education is
Hmm.
and how needed it is. Like
Yeah,
how much we're disconnected from our bodies for whatever reason.
yeah.
And I will say too, like I've been doing this for 12 years now, and it's still a constant practice, right? Because of how much I've been conditioned, slash, like being in the sauce of society and like the predominant culture. Anyways, we could get
Mm,
really into it, but I really resonate with the nonverbal vulnerability of it,
yeah.
especially with Chris, because he definitely likes to poke the bear.
Yes. And right, I'm going to dish on all of our faculty. They're all amazing. Stacy's jam is the Laban movement analysis.
Yep.
I love her passion about that. And
Yes.
like it you're right, it's you learn so much about the layer of the body and what it can do and how it can process emotion and how it can process our experiences, and then being able to like learn about trauma in another different way, right? How we do groups, right? You
Hmm.
right? And the one of the great things, I'm gonna kind of like just put this in there for everybody, is that I came in already with a degree. Not everybody does that, and that's okay. Everybody's different. I have a colleague that she ended up doing both her MSW program and the DMT program at the same time. Some people do, some people don't. It's all about personal preference, and some people, right, can take their time in this program. You don't need to go like boom, 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 right, with every single
Hmm.
class. I did just because I'm just like, give me more, right? But, some people come to this with like either a social work degree, psychology degree, or counseling.
Right.
All is welcome, just as long as you're getting that so you can be able to do this work therapeutically with your clients.
Hmm.
We do also have the opportunity for internships. You also do
Hmm.
get connected. We have a wonderful, I'm part of the currently a online group supervision group with Laura Allen, who's our student advisor. She's amazing. And so that's one way to like be together, talk about cases, talk about what we're noticing, what we're seeing, as we're using these approaches with our clients.
Yes. So lots of what I'm hearing is lots of diversity of approaches slash faculty that you can resonate with, and everyone has a different passion and strength.
Yeah.
So you got your social work degree, and then you come to the ARDMT. There's like this awakening somewhat of like, wait, body, mind, vulnerability, nonverbal communication. So how has that shifted your perspective as a clinician now, and even as a social worker.
It's a lot deeper, right? One of the things that we learn about, especially in our chase class, about right, rhythmic action, mirroring, all those kind of things, right? But one of the things that I'm even looking toward, not just in my regular one-to-one therapy sessions, but how, right, over the long term, how do we, because what is missing is this community piece. And I'm
Mm,
seeing it everywhere, not just in a therapy realm perspective, but in everything that there is. Every single system is missing a community piece. So it's like,
mm,
how do we bridge that gap? How do we,
mm-hmm,
right? Because we are social creatures, right? How do we stay connected, especially in these times that we're in, right? When
mm-hmm.
community is everything.
Yes.
And there's all different kinds of communities, right? We've got LGBTQ communities. We've got,
Mm-hmm,
right? I'm a witch and a pagan. So there's those. Right, you can find it in like a capoeira community, right?
mm-hmm.
Lots of different spaces and places. So, right, it, I think that's one of the things for me is like, let's find a way to bridge that gap.
Apologize, I was getting a call. Should put do not disturb. So what I'm understanding what you're saying is like it feels deeper on like a social level for you because you're
Hmm.
seeing the individual, but you're also seeing the network
Yeah.
of people, of bodies, and how important that is.
Right. Yep. Because in social work, we look at the person and the environment, and then we take a
Yes.
look at the whole picture, right? As well as the nitty gritty, like come down to like more personal level. And like, yeah, what's missing? What do we need? Do you need
Yep.
more connection? How do we make more connection? Right? Connection in our bodies, connection right, right, other connection to other people. I would even dare say like our planet as a whole, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, with social work, that is the identity or the attention on systems
Yeah.
is my understanding. I work with social workers very closely, and I really respect y'all's work and what you do in the world. One of the very underestimated professions,
Hmm.
but very much needed.
Very much needed. So like working in all different places and spaces. But I think that's the other thing too. Like I think being an EIC, your whatever your passions are,
Mm-hmm.
they lovingly encourage you to go toward that, right?
Yes. And do you know
And
what your passions are, like either artistically or clinically, like what you're interested
um,
in?
yes, um, I'm definitely like I love working with folks to untangle trauma, but I love the being able to like the connection, enhancing relationships, and then also like finding our community. What does that mean? And then also, right,
Mm-hmm.
making sense of the world in other ways. So, like, I work with, and that's the thing, like, people might say, well, I'm not a dancer. And
Right.
I'm like, can you breathe? Yes. Then you can move, right? So, but there's, right, because people, when they go to therapy, they seem to think there's only one way to do therapy. Alas, that is not true. We can do many things, right? There you could do lots of different arts-based things like dance movement therapy or art therapy, music therapy. You can do, gosh, they even have animal-assisted therapy now, right?
Yep.
There's all these different forms, but like doing what makes sense to you. And then I haven't got into the full like group thing yet, but I will eventually offer groups, but do like smaller ones. But yeah, there's so many other things, and I'm also tapped into our university as a self-healing and social justice art collective. So this is the thing, like
Mm-hmm.
finding your passion, where can you make connections either in EIC or like EIC plus like other places, right? We've got a lot of faculty that are connected to so many different people in a lot of different states. And I will just
Yes.
say in Michigan, like we have some dance movement therapists here. There's not that
Mm-hmm.
many, but there are some. And I know
Mm-hmm.
that I've got a colleague who's in Kentucky and she's like, I'm the only one here
Yeah.
as a student
Yeah.
and like there's nobody around. So like, what do you do? And so we work through those kind of challenges too.
Right. Yeah. You got to find your people
Yeah.
and build that. So it sounds like that's one of the things that you're most interested in also is connecting. Hence why you're here for student
Yeah.
ambassadors.
Yeah.
You're here to welcome in the ingenues and the newbies that are interested
Yes.
in this
And
path.
with the student ambassadors, and I'm so thankful to be a student ambassador, but it really is a way to connect with other people. And whether it's logistics or talking more about the program, talking about your goals and dreams or what you want to do with dance movement therapy, we're here for you, right? Like I will tell you that my first class in person, I didn't know exactly where I was going. I had to like figure it out and thankfully I knew people in Chicago that could kind of direct me like which bus line to take or which L train to take, right?
Yes.
So we're here to help you, right, make it a little bit easier so you don't have to feel like you're alone in this new place and space that may be for you, right? You may be coming from somewhere else other
Right.
than Chicago.
Right. Right. Yeah, you're here as a guide. And so with that, do you have any advice for, let's say that there's a prospective student and they just found EEIC? Do you have any advice or message that you might say as a way to guide them towards the next step? Not necessarily to be like, oh, you have to sign up for EEIC, but just like something that you might offer at that point in their journey.
Yeah, I would say I encourage folks to look at all the different programs that are out there. I looked at a couple, and then what I found was like, I actually, how I found out about EIC was I talked to somebody that went to a different program but works in
Mm,
Chicago and happened to know one of my professors and mentors at U of M at University of Michigan. And we got
oh,
on and we Zoom chatted and she's like, check out EIC. She says, had I known about this program, I would have done it, right? Because there's a very the thing about that I also love about EIC is that there's a lot of diversity, there's a lot of age range. I'm a little bit older, right? I'm in my
mm-hmm.
40s. So right, this is the other thing. It's never too late to do anything. I don't,
Yes.
right? Even if you're older, younger, does not matter. Right? What I did was after I had that conversation, I reached out. I ended up getting a meeting with Stacy Hurst, one of the founders and
Mm-hmm.
faculty of EIC. And then I ended up applying and I did it. Ended up getting accepted and I was like, okay, here we go. Here we go. I'm on this
Here we
journey. I'm on this
go.
path. Yeah. So like talk to set up a meeting with the student ambassador or come to our one of our Q&As with our student ambassadors. There's a few student ambassadors. So right, it doesn't need to be with
And
me.
aren't
You
you
can
hosting the one in
July.
June? Oh,
July.
July. Okay.
July.
Yep.
Yeah, July 18th, I think. If I
July
remember the
18th.
date right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And and it's also a good idea too to like reach out and chat with an instructor, right? Like
Yes.
check out, right, one of the faculty. They're great, right? They don't mind talking with anybody that's interested.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody right, has maybe different questions or other concerns, that kind of thing, right? We're
Yes.
very open and welcoming.